Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Norton, founder of People Plus Purpose and your host on the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast. And I am excited in this episode to have as my guest Micky Chorny. Micky is the co-founder of Aligned Being, a consulting company dedicated to empowerment and fulfillment in business, relationships, and personal growth. She is a speaker, coach, trainer, and expert facilitator passionate about helping leaders and teams reach new levels of effectiveness. Micky has developed multiple CE courses and provides professional development on communication skills, customer service, conflict management, goal setting and strategizing, and leadership. Micky also is a graduate of the People Plus Purpose Coach Certification Training Program, even though she'd already been a coach for years. And I am proud to say that she works part-time under the umbrella of People Plus Purpose. So welcome to the podcast, Micky.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Dr. Matthew. I am so glad to be here and to share some wisdom and some nuggets with your audience, and also just happy to be part of this community that you've created.
That's great. Well, thank you for that. And I trust that there will be some nuggets. So for everybody who is watching us, listening to us today, get something to take notes because Micky will definitely deliver. No pressure, right?
No pressure.
So I mean, that's a good place to start. So you have a wealth of experience. So
Mhm.
maybe we can begin with some practice growth insights. I know that there are many people
Yeah.
right now who are thinking, what are some things that I could do? Whether they're still in the insurance model or they're outside of the insurance model, what are some strategies? So maybe share some pearls there.
Yeah, for sure. So, my background in dental consulting can be attributed back to some experience that I had, a large part of my experience being at a consulting company called Next Level Practice. And the philosophy there is something that I really do subscribe to. I think that it really rings true for all of the dental practices that I've worked with, which is that there's three ways to grow a practice. And there's also three ways to grow financially as a business owner, right? So if you are a doctor who is a business owner, who's a practice owner, you can grow in what you pay yourself, your salary. You can grow in your bottom line, your profitability, so salary and profit. And the third way that you can grow is in equity. And you can actually sell parts of your practice and still maintain the decision-making portion of the ownership by, selling a bit of your practice to an associate and things like that, that will increase the value of the part of the practice that you own, because as you're selling the equity, the practice keeps growing in value. And that's another way that you can grow. So that's like how you can grow financially as a business owner. But now let's talk about growing a practice. Okay. So this is the truth about behind dentistry, right? So there is a myth that you have to have an influx of new patients to grow your practice. Oh, we don't have enough new patients. We're not presenting enough new treatment because we don't have new patients to present treatment to. The truth behind that is that most dental practices are not doing what they need to do with the patients that are already under their roof. So there's an acronym, CARE, care. There's case acceptance, that's CA. There's retention, and there's the experience and acquisition of new patients, right? And notice that's the last one on the list.
Right.
Okay. If you don't have strong case acceptance and you don't have retention in your practice, it won't matter how many new patients you're bringing through those doors, because you'll have a revolving door of new patients. So if you really want to grow your practice, you want to take the focus away from new patients. You want to put your focus on the patients that are currently coming to your practice. Retention would be coming through your hygiene department at least twice a year, right? So your patients are coming back through your doors, seeing a hygienist at least twice a year. If they have perio, it would be more than that, 3 or 4 times a year, right? And if we're not dealing with those patients coming back, then you will lose most of the new patients that come through your door. What's a healthy percentage of retention? 80%. 80% of your patients need to be coming back through those doors. Now, why not 100%, Mickey? Well, it's not realistic. It's not realistic, right? You have people who move away. You have people who unfortunately pass away. You have people whose needs change and their schedule doesn't match what you offer anymore. Or you have people who got a better deal down the road and they're just shopping for a better price, right? Like there's so many reasons why your patients may not return back through your doors, and it's unrealistic to expect that 100% of them will. So 80% is a healthy retention rate. Now, case acceptance. This is a really hot topic. I talk to a lot of doctors and I say, what do you think your case acceptance percentage is? And they're like, oh, our patients always accept treatment. They're very compliant. And then we go into the system and we see that, in fact, they've been presented treatment that is like multiple thousands of dollars and they're only accepting like a fraction of their treatment plan.
Right.
Right. Or they're doing single tooth dentistry.
Right.
And so the average dental practice is around 33% case acceptance, average. And I would say that's generous. Most of the practices that I've come into conversations with are somewhere between 25 and 33%. And they're thinking, oh, it's good. Maybe, it's good. Maybe it's 75%, right? And I'm always like, let's check that, right? So here's what you need to know about case acceptance, okay? A third of your patients are likely to always say yes. They're the compliant patients. They're like, you want me to do that? I'll do that, right? You think this is the resolution? I'll do that. 33%, yes, no problem. Then there's 33% of your patients that say no, 99.9% of the time. Like, it doesn't matter how dire the situation is. It doesn't matter, unless they are in excruciating pain, they are going to say no to anything you present. Okay, 33%, right? That leaves 33% in the middle that for the most part are not going to be compelled to accept treatment, or are like, yes, but I have money to deal with or timing to deal with, or I have to talk to my spouse, right? All the things that they put in the way.
Right.
And so those are the yes buts, or the on the fence people.
Mm-hmm.
And a healthy case acceptance is when you can convert that middle 33% into a yes, which puts you at 67% case acceptance. So, Mickey, why not 100%? Because it doesn't work that way, right? People are human. They're allowed to say no. Unfortunately, it is called elective treatment, even though we know they need it. Right. And unless it is something like orthodontics for cosmetics or veneers or something that is truly cosmetic, that is truly optional, we know that the treatment we're presenting is needed, but we haven't made a compelling enough case for the patient. Right. And so here's another nugget, right? People don't buy what they need. They buy what they want.
Yes.
And at the dental office, we are working to have them want what they need.
Right.
And so that 33%, you got to get them to want what they need, or they're going to stay on the fence and like probably not think about the treatment again until they come back to your office in 6 months. Right? So if you're not dealing with 67% case acceptance, and what do I have to do to increase that number? And you're not dealing with 80% retention, and what do I have to do to have those patients come back through your doors? You're going to be on a new patient treadmill, and you will always feel like you can't get ahead of the growth, because you can't. If you're not keeping people in, it's just in and out, in and out, in and out, right? So case acceptance and retention, then worry about new patients.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect truth behind dentistry, myth dispelling right out of the gate. Because I think you're right. I mean, that is the default focus, right? We do believe that there is such magic in new people. But just the first thought that came to my mind as you were saying that is like professional dating, right? I mean, it's kind of like, like, let's just date all the time forever. And
oh my God, first dates all the time, exhausting.
Yeah, because you think about how much energy goes into the beginning of any relationship, and only got so far. like you hardly barely got beneath the surface, and then
Not
that.
to mention, yeah, and in the context of a dental practice, a first visit, a new patient visit takes the most time and produces the least dollars.
Right, yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah.
could you, and that's the other thing I would say too, is like if you are seeing more than two new patients a day per working doctor in the office, you're seeing too many new patients.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I mean it's not fine, doesn't make financial sense. It doesn't make relationship sense because there's no, I mean, there's not time for people to know you, like you, trust you.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's so many people I have found relative to that are phobic to the idea of sales. And therefore, which is why I reframe that to ethical influence,
Yeah.
as a better way, because it's truly what it is. But ethical influence, sales, I mean, you're still selling this ethically influential reason to say yes to something. But it's
Yeah.
like so many people are so phobic to, I don't want to tell people what to do. Therefore, I'm going to let everybody decide. Well, then we're back by default to that 33% that you're saying, right? Because that middle 33%, if it's saying that they're going to buy what they want, how many people already have a list of things they want in a dental office?
Yeah.
I mean, there's
And
nothing on
what's
that list.
crazy is like it's not only there's usually nothing on that list, but if there is something on that list, it's usually highly ignorant or uneducated. Like I want a dentist that's not going to present too much treatment and is not trying to take my money and but
Right.
like that's not how dentistry works. Like as a lay person, you're not the professional in the room. If I'm the professional in the room, I'm not going to ask you if you think you should have x-rays.
Right.
You're trusting me to tell you that you need x-rays,
Exactly. That's
right?
that's leadership, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
we're in one accord on that. We're asking our audience of doctors, of hygienists, of anybody else who's listening to us to step into leadership, which means you are
Yes.
the expert. And if you're the expert, you lead and you help people understand. So that's all perfect, Micky. That's all
Yeah,
perfect. So,
absolutely.
um, so anything else that you want to say about the practice growth element, or maybe we can move into what are some areas, what are some things that make for practice excellence?
Yeah.
How do
Hmm.
those dovetail
Yes.
together?
That's perfect. So I would say that the thing that I was going to say was sort of that, which is that you can be focusing on those things that are sort of strategy items in a business plan, right? Like we could talk about case acceptance like numbers, and we can talk about retention like numbers. But what's behind those numbers are the human beings that you're interacting with on a daily basis. And so, what creates excellence is creating value for the people coming through those doors. And I am not just talking about your patients, I'm also talking about your team. So, another myth is that the customer is always right and the customer is most important in a business. But the truth behind that, what's actually so, is that you have two types of clients in your business. You've got internal clients, that's your team, and you have external clients, those are your patients or your customers,
Mm.
right? And the most important client is your internal client because without them, you cannot deliver an extraordinary product to your external client.
Right. Yeah. That's
And
good.
this is what so many business owners miss, not just doctors, but all sorts of business owners miss this. If you are not making it a priority to please your internal customer, your internal client, your business you can only grow as far as your most dissatisfied team member.
I like that. That's good.
So if you as a business owner are not focusing on value added for your team and you're only focusing on value added for your patients, your team is going to resent that. They're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
If you have meetings only about how we can make the client happy and there are no meetings about what you can do in your culture or what will have people feel more appreciated in the office, or you're not incentivizing your team in any way, whether it's financial or something else, because not everybody's driven by money, right? And the assessments definitely help us see that. Um, if you're not putting in equal or greater energy to your team satisfaction, you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, it's not going to be like dramatic, like catastrophic, like the world is ending failure. No, but you will consistently have turnover, dissatisfaction, you know, meh, decent service, and team members who don't feel any sort of loyalty to staying in your business because you're not demonstrating any sort of interest in keeping them. So you have to create value in your culture, and you have to understand what's going to add value for your team and their culture, right? So many, many times this happens where I have a doctor that's like, well, I'm giving them bonuses. Well, I'm paying for but, and it's like, yeah, but have you checked in about what each of them really cares about? What matters to them? Now, luckily, we have an assessment that we can, offer them. But if we don't have an assessment, you could ask some questions, it seems this particular incentive isn't making a big difference for you. Maybe in a performance review, you can ask, what are some of the things that would make it like extra special and important for you to stick around? What would make it more fun for you to come to work every day? Culture is about people enjoying coming to work every day. Yeah, because we're spending a lot of our waking hours together. So get interested in what will add value for your team. Now, once your team is happy, if you've got a team where the culture is healthy, people are looking to go above and beyond, then it's actually very simple to deliver bigger value to your patients. Because you'll have team members coming up with ways to do that. You'll have team members that show up and are really present and happy to connect with your patients. And that's really what your patients want, is to feel connected with as human beings.
What a radical thought, Micky.
I know, right? Earth-shattering.
That is so out of the box. In truth, it is, but it's sad that would be out of the box. And you got me thinking about 33% breakdowns now after your earlier comment. I'm thinking 33% of the people, and these are, they're probably not the accurate amounts, but there's a key section that has really understood these things and they're really prioritizing team first to build this army of people that are on fire for what we're doing. And since the team is the greatest, the people are the greatest expense, may as well be the greatest asset, right? Instead of just,
they're the greatest investment.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, like your payroll is an investment. If you're seeing your payroll as your highest expense, then your context for payroll is off.
Yeah. That's good. And then there's maybe 33% who initially go, yeah, no, it's patient first. And these people, I don't know, they're probably not going to stay anyway. And but then there's that percentage in the middle that hopefully we're talking to who haven't really optimized this, but do hear the truth in this and go, oh, well, tell me more. What do I do about that? So yeah, that's good. Anything else specifically on the practice excellence thing? I know I want to talk a little bit about insurance in the dental.
Yeah. So, this concept of added value or known value is really, really crucial. When a team member comes to me, because I've coached team members individually one-on-one as well, when a team member comes to me and says, I want to ask for a raise, the first thing I tell them is you have to be able to quantify the value you bring to the table. Mm-hmm. You have to be able in writing to show the doctor or your boss in dollars and cents what you're bringing to the table. And that can be really uncomfortable because people don't like to be measured that way. Right. But if you're thinking about business, if you're the business owner, you have to think that way. Because it is a top and bottom line transaction. If you're telling me that you're asking me to elevate my bottom line for you, right? Or I guess lower my bottom line for you, right? There has to be a return on that investment. That is an investment, right? Mm-hmm. And if you, as a team member, can demonstrate to me the return on that investment, it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
So the same is true here in this concept of added value. It's not just that you're adding value, it's that it's known value.
Mm,
So making it known, for example, to the patient on a first call, on an intake call, here are all the things that are going to happen during your first visit. And you share with them what that journey is going to be like. Well, we're going to sit with you, we're going to ask you a few questions so we get to know you a little bit better, and then we'll know how to tailor your visit. And then there will be x-rays, and then you'll talk with a hygienist who's going to, make sure that she takes a chart of the depths of your gum pockets. Oh, what does that mean? Well, it's how we determine if your gums are healthy, right? Simple things like that, that if you say those things in the intake before you confirm that appointment, they're like, oh, I'm getting all that. That's amazing.
right. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, yes, like it's standard. We think, oh, it's just standard. But for the patient to make it known
Right.
is the value.
Right. Yeah.
If you're an office that does saliva testing, mention that.
Right.
If you're an office that does a head and neck exam and screens for cancer, mention it. Right? If you're an office that takes blood pressure because you understand the connection between the mouth and the rest of the body, and you're going to talk about that with your patients, make that known. That is what adds value to the experience before they ever walk through that door.
That's great.
Right? So adding value has to be also known values. And then again, when the patient is sitting in the chair, like there's certain things that we do that might be standard for us. But for the patient, when you make it known, it's like, wow, that's so great. That's so great. Like I'm always delighted when the dentist does something that I didn't expect, or that offers me a service that I didn't know was available to me, or sees opportunities to connect to certain things I've said about my life. Like all of that is added value. All of that is relationship building.
Yeah. Very good.
So that's what I'll say about that. And the reason why we lose patients when we go out of network with insurance, or the reason why that whole thing is a struggle, is take the case. And, for those of you listening out there, don't take insult to this, but consider you have not done enough to build known value for that patient, for them to see the value of staying with you, even though you don't take their insurance.
Right. Right.
Because there are plenty of offices that I have worked with who have gone completely off of insurance, and they keep their patients because their patients are like, I'm not willing to go anywhere else. I'll pay the dollars. Right? So, this is not an indictment on my private practice dentists out there who are struggling to get off of insurance, but just take the case
Right.
that you haven't created enough known value for the insurance to be a non-issue for patients.
Right.
In a lot of offices, it becomes a non-issue for patients because they're just like, well, I'm not going to go anywhere else, so I guess we're doing this.
Right. Which is based on relationship, right? I mean, I
Totally.
think sometimes we forget that business is really primarily relationships. We get all our transactional,
Yeah.
like production numbers mindset, and
Yeah.
we lose sight of the fact that this is relationship building 101, really, in that regard. Just like in a personal relationship, if you're developing that personal relationship, you're going to hit some stressor points, some rocky road elements in life.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's enough value that's been built into that relationship, then that relationship will not only survive, but could thrive through those harder points. And people do, if you're getting out of network, I think people see that is kind of a stressor point, or put in their minds, it could be
Yeah.
perceived. But to what you said, if the relationship is great, if I do own the value of what you're offering here that is unique and compelling, and I think you're awesome and the team's awesome, I'm not going anywhere any different than I would leave my spouse because we had, a stressor come up. I think that's so important. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah.
That it makes sense on the insurance side that the more you have deposited in that account with people, then you can be prepared, right, for making that change. what else comes up when you think about the insurance and being ready for that? Or
Yeah, so obviously it's a delicate process if you're a practice that is reliant on insurance, where like whatever 90% of your patients are insurance patients.
Mhm.
It could be a very delicate process. And I do encourage you to work with a consultant that specifically works with this particular process, because I don't claim to be one of those people. It's not my forte. I have some good insights
Mhm.
and I have some guiding advice that I can give my clients, but I do always encourage my clients to work with someone who is an expert in insurance renegotiation and insurance dropping.
Mhm.
Some quick things you can do that are sort of diagnostics to see where you might want to start is you want to look at all of the different insurances that you are in contract with, and you want to see how much revenue you actually make with each of those insurances. Like, what's the actual dollar transaction in the course of a year from that insurance, and the number of patients under each insurance. And the advice that I've given my clients is you want to start with the insurance that has the smallest population in your office. You want to start with that one because
Mhm.
it'll be the smallest hit in terms of patient numbers. And, you're probably not going to feel it if you if you get rid of that one
Right.
first.
Right.
Don't start with the most prevalent insurance in your office, because you're going to upset your apple cart perhaps to a degree that you don't want to upset it right away.
Right. Right.
So you want to start with the ones that feel easier, lighter to manage. And, I always say you want to have a conversation with your patients the next time they're in the office. You never want to like drop it overnight, although sometimes that happens, but you want to do it strategically over a period of time. And so you let the patient know that, whenever they're in your office for that visit, you'd let them know that their next visit, you will no longer be in network. And so here's how you want to prepare them for that. And how we talk to patients about no longer being under their insurance is 99% of the problem. Like, if you send a patient a letter that says we are no longer in contract with your insurance plan and nothing else, the patient thinks I can't come to your office anymore.
Right.
That's what they think. They
Right.
think they're being dismissed as a patient, or they think, oh, it's impossible for me to keep going.
Right.
Right. But if you have the conversation, you say, look, you're going to get a letter from us to officially mark that we are no longer under your insurance. Here's what that means. Here's what it'll mean for you going forward. We will continue to deliver the same level of care you've been getting, except now we will still file the paperwork on your behalf as a courtesy, but you will be paying in full for your treatment and you'll be expecting a reimbursement from your insurance company. Like, bottom line, that's basically what it
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And if you say that to the patient, they're like, oh, okay, great. That sounds good.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know, so how you talk to the patient when you're dropping the insurance is like 99% of the drama, honestly. Because once you do that, you might have a couple patients that go up in arms, as you're going through the process and you start to drop more insurances.
Right.
And you've got those patients that, they nickel and dime you. They're like Adam. You're going to have those patients. I cannot ever promise that those patients won't exist.
Right.
They're in every practice,
Right. Right.
unfortunately.
Right.
Right. And with those patients, again, how you talk about it. Like, here's the other thing, and this is a people skills thing. This is a communication skills thing. Most people that will come to you in this process and complain or be upset or whatever about you dropping insurance, they just want to be heard.
Mhm.
Like, they know that you're not going to change your plan to drop their insurance because of how upset they are. They know they're not suddenly going to get free dental care from your office by complaining. They know that. They would have to be delusional if they didn't,
Right.
right? But mostly your patients know that. What they want, it's actually a bid for compassion
Mm.
and
Nice.
understanding
Nice. Nice.
and like being seen.
Right.
So if you can just get that for yourself as a business owner and have your whoever's your treatment coordinator, the person that's in charge of those conversations, know that that is the primary bid that's happening in those conversations,
Yeah.
then it's a lot easier to deal with those patients. Because look, we're all just children in big adult bodies. And we all want to be seen,
Right.
appreciated,
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
We all want to feel like we matter. And when we get the news that the insurance is no longer, suddenly it's like, I'm not going to matter in this office anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I don't matter as a patient here. And what they're doing underneath everything, and they won't tell you this because it's not conscious, but what they're doing is bidding for you to prove them wrong.
Right.
You
Right.
do matter to us. Here's how you matter to
Yeah.
us.
That's great.
I understand it's really frustrating, right? And I've said this to a couple of clients that we've co-coached. We've talked about this insurance thing, and I say to them, look, you want to look your patient square in the eyes and say, insurance is not your healthcare advocate. We are.
Right.
And whatever version of that is your expression to say, you say that with the most sincere, straight face to your patients. Like, I understand you're frustrated. And look, if you ask me personally, dental insurance is a scam because the dental insurance is not going to advocate for your health. We are. In fact, we are so committed to the level of care that we give that we are unwilling to compromise that by allowing insurance to dictate what we can and can't do.
That's perfect. That was like the mic drop right there.
Yeah. And that's usually what happens, right? Like the teams will just all be looking at me like,
Yeah. Well, and I think that that is so well said, all of that. And I think that the more comfortable everybody can be with that, then they can be centered and have compassion to offer, to be actually to hear somebody. Because I think the more nervous people are, or the more confused the message deliverer is, the more they are trying to get it handled, and
yeah,
they're not going to come across as compassionate at all. Right. They're going to come
yeah,
across, and it's going to lead to a lot of misunderstanding. So I think
yeah,
that was perfect. Um, so as we wrap up,
yeah.
time goes so fast. I feel like we could talk for another
I
hour.
could talk about this stuff for days.
Yeah, yeah. But so for all the people who are watching, who are saying this was good stuff, and I can't imagine you thinking anything otherwise, but uh, if they want to know, to get in touch with you, if they want to know more about what you offer and to see if you might be a good fit to be of help to them, then
Yeah.
what's the best way for people to do that?
Probably emailing me, Micky at alignedbeing.co. You can also check out our website, alignedbeing.co, not .com, .co.
Okay.
Okay. But if you want a quick conversation or you want to drop me a line and set up a time to speak, probably Micky at alignedbeing.co is your most direct pathway to that.
That's awesome. I so appreciate your time, and thank you for all those truth behind dentistry pearls.
Of
And
course. My pleasure.
and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, absolutely. I really do want to encourage everybody watching to reach out to Micky. She's got so much experience and so much to offer, as I think you heard today. So
Yeah.
this is Dr. Matthew Norton, and I'm with Michal Chorny, and this has been the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.